All right. So the 100th episode of the True Life
Wow.
podcast, which, it puts us in the top, I don't know, 1 percentile or something like that. I think the average podcast of the 2 million out there peters out after like 13 episodes or something like that. Yeah. So you're supposed to be proud of, hitting 100 episodes. Of course, if it's just drivel and nobody listens,
all 5 people listen to us.
Yeah. Thank goodness. There's a lot of downloads as well, and great feedback on this. I keep having people come into the new community, which folks, you can go look at kevinmiller.co and the Driven to Live community. And so many of them just have health goals. Had a lady in there just recently who lost 50 pounds.
Wow.
Actually, I may read an excerpt of hers in a moment, but I thought a great point to come to was just back to what you've been talking about for years on be becoming. What am I becoming? And I literally was thinking about that on my run today of that is what we're talking about here. Because obviously, if you don't care, you're not listening,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It touches so much of our lives. We had our Friday morning thing this morning. We had those words. I just got done with a rare Friday appointment where we had to get somebody in, just golden people. And I love that first appointment where it's a paradigm shift. On purpose, I'll ask them all the questions that we ask you on the show too. And I set people up to say the wrong answer, like what's the best exercise to do, or what straw broke the camel's back, and people always say, oh yeah. And in her case, it was the mold. Oh, well, thank you for saying that. That's 100% wrong. All the straws. I mean, the mold is just one more straw on all these other straws that have been on your back. So you have been becoming the kind of person that mold is going to fracture your back in whatever way, or, you've got one less nerve and you're standing on it, kind of thing like that, that the person that you work with, you've been becoming the kind of person where now this person's attitude or whatever just sends you right over the edge. Or you've been becoming the kind of person who, whatever you are today, Kevin Miller, or whoever's listened, you've been training to become this person.
There you go. But that is so daunting. But what I really wanted to try to do is some justice to giving excitement, hope, and joy to what we're becoming. Because when you say,
I love that when you put it in the daunting words,
I know
it's bad. That's so scary. But if you say it's your free will, it's your agency.
But I have a lady, I'm going to keep talking about the community because I'm in these deep talks with people who are coming into this Driven to Live community, and they're talking about what they're not finding space to talk about elsewhere. You got this one lady in there, and she's a mom. They've got a business, and it's just busy. Life is just busy, and it's hard for her not to look at this. Let's take the aspect of health, and it just feels like, seriously, it's another chore on the to-do list. And I get that.
Yeah. Another daunting straw on my camel's back.
And yet she's over here knowing, but if I'm going to have true life, I got to,
you are a camel and you have a back.
And so how do you take this pursuit of wellness, wellerness, and look at it? Cause it is daunting, because today, so here's today, what we're recording, December 10th, 2021. And today I did and didn't do things that are causing me to become or not to become something tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. That is daunting. That's just a good word.
I don't disagree.
Exciting and daunting.
But there you go. Okay. It's the daunting side of it is daunting. And it's the same daunting that I would feel as you've kind of come up to a precipice. Have you ever been skiing where there's a drop in?
Yes, unfortunately. So you're excited.
I'm excited.
I'm daunted.
Right. Okay. That feeling where you're like, oh crap, and that's right. You could let your brain go down the one side or let your brain go down the other side. So there's this bothness idea. And I always hang up when you say it's daunting, because I don't want to end on that. And I feel like we're in a society, and we talk about raising our kids all the time. They don't want to be daunted.
Because we're maxed out. We're overloaded. We're over busy. We're over informed. We're overfed.
over information.
We're just looking for some stinking relief, culturally and in general. And you and I can understand that. We have times of that, even as we also have times of the excitement for that. I mean, I can understand somebody looking and going, seriously, I got to go run a 5K today. That sucks. And here I am, and I've gotten myself to a point, thank God, out of the privilege.
I can't wait till I get to go.
That today I got to go do one in the snow. And it was great. And I'm so grateful for that excitement. Now, if you ask me, no, I'll be, when I get the email from my bookkeeper on the very little bit that I have to do my taxes, so I pay them to do as much as humanly possible, I am daunted. I don't like that. I have not been preparing myself from that. I'm not trying to become someone who's excited about the finances. Thank goodness I can offload that. Can't offload my health. Nobody's going to go do a 5K for me, sleep for me, eat correctly for me. I can't do that. So here we are. And so here's what I was playing with. You ready? That we can't not be every day. We're becoming something. Yeah. We're growing or declining. We're growing more able or disabled, stronger or weaker, more or less able, happier or sadder. I mean, every single day. And you said this, that if I look at right now and go, gosh, okay, today, if I can do 10 pull-ups, then tomorrow I have to do 11. And you said, not necessarily. If I just do 10 the next day and the next day,
your trajectory is still up.
I'm going to be 60, and I'm becoming the kind of guy who can do 10 pull-ups at 60 by maintaining. So, so it's not, so I don't want to, because I can get into that feeling of like, man, every day I've got to progress.
Right.
That there is
a wimp. I only did 10. I should be able to do 11.
Yeah. So this depends on where somebody is. And if you're at a place of feeling like you're doing pretty well, maintaining that
over the course of time
is growth, is what you said. Okay.
Yeah. It's like biking. In biking, well, I don't know, but in driving, there's never coasting.
Yeah.
Like it takes more gas to get going to 75 miles an hour. And then you hit cruise control and the gas goes down a little, it doesn't go to off. Mm-hmm. So then you still have to input in order to maintain. It still costs you time and money and effort, energy, and whatever else. And over the course of time, when it comes to the body, I would say you are progressing. Yes.
Okay. Well, so my muse here then too is looking at motive. There's my other podcast, What Drives You, looking at the motive. And at this, I'm finding myself in these conversations bringing people back to, or no, maybe not even back to, bringing people to, okay, because I had somebody in here, they just joined and they're saying, I feel like there should be more, but they're not sure what the more should be. And I said, well, there's our first goal. We've got to figure out what it is. What is the reason? Because we're talking about becoming, but why? And I think that is where we're experiencing some excitement going. I'm excited that there's a probability, if I do these things, to be 90 years old and cognitively able. That's exciting. That makes me excited to do XYZ today, as opposed to just going, seriously, I got enough going on, man. I got family stuff happening, I got marriage problems, finance problems. I got parenting problem. I got, whatever I got Christmas problems. And I don't have time for that. It's just, I really want to just watch a flick and eat some chips.
Yeah.
This is not exciting.
I hear you.
What's the motive out there, and whether
now you're becoming the guy who's 80 or 90, who is disabled from the jog for sure, the pull-ups for sure, maybe even the mental capacity to enjoy Christmas.
Well, and it's probably not fair to polarize. Let's do your bother thing of excitement and daunting. I'm excited at the possibility, and I hope probability, that I can be the 90-year-old who's writing the next book with mental clarity. I am also daunted. It's also, I would have to admit, part of my motive is the fear of lingering.
60-year-old who's already on the downhill.
Yeah, exactly. Who's already on the downhill. And I told you guys this morning. So we just watched Scrooge. So the one with Albert Finney. So it's, and so he's shuffling along with his crooked mouth, and he's shuffling. And we looked in the details of the movie. And when they did it, they depicted him. Now, this is like 1870 or something like that, 50, 40, 1800s. And they depicted him as a 50-year-old. Now, they went through some times of really short life expectancy back then, right?
Right.
Okay, so at 50 years old, the dude was like what I'm gonna
Our
90-year-old.
90 crotchety old 90.
Yeah, well, I just turned 51 and I'm looking at
You
going,
look great for Scrooge.
well, thank you so much. I would not have been cast as that, but yeah, I'm excited to be on my 51st. Let's see, the day before I went out and did a 2-hour ride, and my VO2 max, which I'm proud of, it's been the same for 6 months. For some reason, I got a tick up. It went up to 49 and, still says you're a healthy 20-year-old or something like that. And I'm excited about that. But, wherever somebody is right now, you are becoming, and maybe there's just both. There's excitement at the possibility and fear of, man, if I don't do XYZ today, tomorrow, next week, next month, what's going to happen? And that's what I was thinking, we've got to look forward and go, we are becoming, next month, we're going to be at this place next year. And if you're older and 2 years from now, what are you training, like you said, to become?
I can hear our friend Todd also saying, yeah, but guys, really, does it really matter? Like, does it really matter if today I don't do my 10 pull-ups? Because there are lots of things in life where people say, I am pulling my hair out thinking about my sleep and my diet and my this and my that, and I don't feel the benefit.
Okay. You've talked about that in past years with patients. So here's a patient coming in, they're in health disrepair, and struggling with the anxiety from that. They come in here and it actually increases their anxiety. And then you're saying, here's some things to do. And that increases the anxiety. And you said this is not helping. We got to decrease the anxiety.
Right. The one of the straws on your back is the anxiety about the straws on your back.
Yeah. Yes.
And you get wrapped around the axle, and there is a period of time. And to that person, and here we are, there's always going to be one of these answers that, quit worrying about your exercise, quit worrying about your diet. You need to eat some Sabbath. You need to do a different kind of hard work of true restoration and relaxation versus just relief, the flick and a bowl of chips kind of a thing. Or does that person then perceive that as, well, thanks, you just put another straw on my back? And I do think that's the negative approach, the dauntedness. And I'm worried that we live in a culture where a lot of people hear it like that. I don't think a lot of our listeners who are listening to something like this are stuck in that place.
I mean, but it is going, that is the hard reality to some degree, is like
that
you said,
person is preparing.
We are, preparing, training, becoming something, because we can look at, I can understand somewhat of the concept of right now going, really all the effort put into it. And as you say, we're going to die.
Yeah.
And we all know somebody who put a lot of time into health and they died anyways. They got cancer anyways. They got dementia anyways. I don't think that's fair, because I want to think it would be worse. They would have gotten it sooner. It would have been worse, but we still can't prove it, but we're working on probability. Yeah. Fair. We are working on, I don't want to be the exception. I'm not training to be the exception and going, man, I'm going to live like hell in a handbasket.
Right. The George Burns
and try to make it, smoke and drink and whatever, and try to make it anyways. I'm going to go on the best case, but that it does matter depending on my goal. So if I am okay with the norm of, I don't know, 65, and you're just can't do a whole lot physically and mental decline. And I think we're in a place where a lot of people are that's just the norm, and they've made peace with that, or they're just.
And you and I have to be careful, because that piece is an okay piece. There's no moral rightness or wrongness of being okay with rocking chair and a bowl of fried chicken and a good movie and a whatever. And I mean, we could debate about the rightness or wrongness of it, but I wouldn't call it morally wrong.
Well, so maybe we're just back to the goal for everybody, how powerful to look at what do you want? Because the same guy you're talking about, our buddy Todd, also talked a couple months ago, and we mentioned it on here, that he had just spent a holiday or something like that with his, I don't know, mom, mother-in-law, somebody like that. and was really struggled with her lack of
In
ability.
capacity.
Yeah. Lack of capacity. Exactly. And that, that's a part of his journey now, is dealing with
seeing that and feeling, I
am,
don't want to be that.
am I
I don't want to
training?
become that. How much am I training to?
Yeah. My wife's grandmother just celebrated 100th birthday. It was a big celebration.
Oh, that was the Texas trip.
Yeah. Big thing. And yet I'm thinking, man, we've been married almost 30 years and her grandmother's been pretty out of it, as far as a big contributor to anything. I mean, she's there, but she just kind of spends her day doing crossword puzzles for 25, 30 years. And I just I can't stomach that for me. I don't have a place for that. I do not want to be training to become that. I want to be, we look at, I do the Ziegler show, and he had an accident that I think ended things sooner for them, but till 85, he was still writing. He was still speaking. He was still doing what he did until the end. I just want that. I don't know why. Like you said, I don't have to, it's not a moral, ethical thing. That's what I want. So that is my motive for wanting to be becoming somebody who can do that.
That can be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Sid Baker is one of the early pioneers of the thought construct of functional medicine.
Okay.
And I think he's past 85, still practicing. That's where I get my worms. And for my son and myself, and we're doing this helmet therapy. And I'm like, wow, at 85, he is doctoring. People are putting their trust. And, my dad practiced till 74, but that's 11 more years of practice. It's hard to, and my dad enjoys his retirement now, and he's really grateful. And I don't think he would, he doesn't feel like he's missing something right now, but so again, he's content. He's now got brain space and time space to pursue all of these other interests, and he's doing work. He's, shifted his emphasis there, and I want to be able to do that.
Well, whatever the motive is, again, it's not a right or wrong. And you and I, who want to be 90 doing 10 pull-ups and to be able to do a 5K. So here's one. Here, I'm going to show you a picture. This is a picture in my community of somebody who is extremely large, and she's not as much right now. And I asked her what got her started on this. What was the catalyst? What was the motive? And an excerpt here. I'm sick of sitting on the sidelines of life because I'm too heavy to participate.
Yeah.
She said it was actually she had a daughter who had a kid and realized she couldn't participate. So now she says, the day before Thanksgiving, I went to Legoland with my son and his family. I was able to keep up with the grandkids. I was able to ride some of the roller coasters with them. Previously, I would have felt like I was much too big to fit on the ride and wouldn't even try, so I'd be embarrassed. I wasn't even hurting at the end of a long day of walking around the park. I still have more to lose, but I'm never going back to my old ways of eating. Getting healthy feels too good. Mm-hmm. And if you go down in the thread, we've continued to talk, and her next goal is to zip line, to do a zip line, type thing. So she's seeing this excitement. So she is not seeing it as this chore. She's seeing it as a freedom.
Yeah.
I would love
ownership.
I would love that for anyone who's looking at this.
That is a great paradigm. How many people have I talked to in the clinic that feel owned by the malady? She was owned by her weight. And the ownership, in fact, if you were to ask me, what is your motive? This past year, I have become captivated by the bigger, grander, spiritual, mysterious idea of freedom. Meaning, am I free to do what I can do? Right. Like that. So you watched Kung Fu Panda, I'm sure. Well,
it's been a while. No, I'm aware.
Your kids were.
No, I remember it.
Okay.
A little bit.
In the first one, and he's fighting with Fishu or the little dude, and they're fighting over one more little dumpling.
Okay.
And they're doing chopstick battles or whatever else. And finally, Po wins. and he tosses the dumpling back to the other guy.
Okay.
And his statement was, I'm not hungry. Meaning he chose to own it, to own his hunger, to own, he fought for it. He had the thing, and it wasn't, he was previous, 5 minutes ago, he was enslaved by the desire. Oh my gosh, there's one cookie left. I have to have it, and I'm going to fight you for it. So translating that into the motivation of the concept of becoming, of putting off the old self, always becoming the new self. And there's a spiritual connection to that. There is we talk about skin, you've got a new skin on every day, and you slough a few million skin cells and a few million gastrointestinal cells, and you're always becoming new. In fact, your entire skeleton, do you remember how long it takes for the bones to redo? 7 years. So every 7 years, every single cell of your body is new. That's a freeing concept. Every 2 or 3 days, the lining of your GI tract is entirely new. So if you just change your diet for 2 or 3 days, you're already having a massive impact on a GI tract. That ownership, that idea of training to become the kind of guy who at 54 would be able to be more capable, even in the mind space.
Well, you said something that did make me think. I'm going to go back to this lady, and she, of course, shared in our private community, so I won't say her name, but she was very, very large, morbidly obese, and I don't know her story. I don't know her backstory. And you said something to the effect that maybe just think about being a victim. And there are some people, man, this is such a harder journey than for others. I mean, I grew up in a fairly healthy family, as you did, an aspiring family. I got involved in athletics early on. I have never had to lose 50 pounds.
Right. We did not grow up in a food desert.
Oh my gosh. And I haven't, I don't even know. You've done a lot of fasting lately. You just did 90 days of keto, and whatnot. I can't relate though to being at a place of going, man, I've got to really control things to a degree of losing this much weight over time. I mean, well,
let's go outside the box of weight. Have you ever been confronted by any physical malady where you said, self, you had better change?
It's like a first world problem thing. I, realizing nightshades were giving me inflammation and putting my back out. So I quit nightshades.
There you go.
Not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. I continue to imbibe and everything.
But it is.
Okay. Yeah.
By the fact that you were confronted with a fork in the road.
Yeah.
And self, if I don't get on top of this, I could have this kind of back pain forever.
Yeah. Well, because I could not move. I was on the floor and I said, I'm not okay with this continuing to happen.
Okay.
And so did the research, and I was going to say paid the money. I'd had to pay a lot more if I wasn't a partner with you and pay, but doing the work. Well, and gosh, just recently I was worried about something, did a $300-400 lab test and making the investment in that.
We never went over that, have we?
We haven't gone over that. You said it was.
I owe you a go over.
I wasn't near dead yet, but my point being, if some people admittedly having a harder, like her coming in, that she could, I think you come into being like feeling like a victim. Like here I am at 20 years old, 30 years old. You see people from teenagers on up to 50, and they're just living the normal life that they were born into and grew up in. They didn't know. And now here they come and they're 100 pounds overweight, or they have an autoimmune disorder, or have this that you and I haven't necessarily experienced. It's
not fair. That is not fair.
And that is going to make it harder to be excited as opposed to daunted by this effort.
True. That is a statement that has to be said, and it doesn't change the reality of it is going to be harder.
No.
And that's where we were talking about Esther
Perez.
Yeah. No. Perel. Yeah. Which we might disagree with her sexual thought processes or whatever else. But the point that she was making in this one particular podcast was the mindset that you bring to the table of an issue. And in her case, it's interpersonal relationships. And I would say to yourself, the mindset that you bring to yourself of self, this is too hard. There's no way, it's too daunting. I'm just not even going to try. I'm a victim. You are now owned by this thing.
It's unfair that I
It's
ended up at this
unfair.
point, which it probably
It
was.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you grow up abused, if you grow up socioeconomically, however, and there's a food desert and all these kind of things, and I would say, yep. And I grew up more on the privileged side, and over here, yep. And for me personally, it's still that, it's that relationship with gluten or sugar that equals puffiness or pain or joint awareness or whatever. And yes, in December, and I'm noticing, yes, after 90 days of keto, but it's now that I've relaxed in December, it's really daunting to go back.
How can you mentioned a minute ago, the question that you ask patients that they normally get wrong, what's the best exercise? And they'll, is it
Give it a
running,
shot.
CrossFit? Is it whatever? And you say it's whatever the heck you'll do every day.
Yeah.
I continue to come back to that. And as we look at this and question the every day, we are becoming more or less to some degree. It's just, we can't stop that. So that's going to happen. And what can you do? What can we do to make it exciting, to look forward to it, not make it a chore? How can you be excited about your healthier diet? How can you be excited about exercise? How can Kevin Miller be excited about meditating? How can you be excited about self-care and whatever this is such a huge deal that we don't talk about that much. We just say, look, here's the goal that we, everybody would like to feel better. How can you be excited about it? And I found myself doing that with somebody recently it was the topic of exercise. And I said, let's talk, what could you possibly be excited about? Because what a privilege that I have that it's playtime. I get to go run and ride, exercise, it's playtime. You get to with soccer, ultimate frisbee.
I mean, mine are a lot less than yours.
Your treadmill with a book. You're excited about.
I like that.
I know. So what a gift,
as
opposed to, oh, this sucks. And to look out there and go, that is a goal. I mean, what a great.
Let me ask you, because there's one I think that has tripped recently, is more trippy.
All right.
Kevin, how can you be becoming excited about a 90 days of keto with no wine and no fruit?
It's not exciting.
Because your response to me was, granted that you and I are trying to balance one another. And I, at least I heard you weren't admonishing me. It was more of the celebratoriness of, gosh, I'm excited about the gift of a glass of wine. And I don't disagree. And tonight is one of those nights. I'm excited about that. But how can Kevin Miller be? Because you always go to, the gift of biking, but I've never heard of you talk about the gift of not having wine.
No.
So correct. I'm asking you, how can you be becoming excited about that? That's a pain in your rear.
Okay. So there's an exercise I put out there that's good for me. Yeah. Cause there's things, same thing with, meditating. I'm playing with that to a point where I'm finding some enjoyment in that.
You are that awareness exercise. Yeah. I'm doing this breath thing in the morning where I don't know if I'm excited, but I'm geared. I'm going to do it's 4 minutes of.
Well, some of this though, we're coming back to motive again. And is the pain enough? And there's a reality that as we look at doing keto, I don't have a great pain over here. I've been imbibing somewhat. Now, I'm doing just like you. We don't eat until 12, or I've been doing a lot. I've been doing later. Sometimes I don't eat till 1 or 2, and I'll have keto. I'll have vegetables and a meat, generally a fish. That's what I had today. I had Brussels sprouts and trout. That was it. Okay. Maybe a couple chocolate covered almonds afterwards. Tonight I'll probably, we're going to a dinner thing and I'm going to eat whatever the heck that they serve us. And, I may have wine later. And my performance, I'm doing really good performing on the athletic side, and I don't want to disrupt it, and I'm having great results. So I'm struggling with the motive of a pain or a goal there. So that's a place for all of us to start with it, as we're looking at this. Is there, like with this lady, she finally looked and go, I cannot, the pain was big enough.
Her pain was big enough to make a change.
It's generally what changes. Now we would like to say the desire. I guess she could look at it that way. I have the desire to be able to play Legos with my grandkids.
Well, what's your level of desire to be becoming the kind of guy who can look forward to dinner with no wine?
Yeah.
Zero, right? Like, but you would say, I'd like to be becoming the kind of guy who's not addicted, who can enjoy wine when I'm 90 without consequence. And
I've done it just out of the sheer willpower. So, done the 90
no
days,
joy,
90
no
days
looking forward to it.
No, I'm just looking to when it's over.
Right.
So, okay, I've proven I'm not addicted. I'm proven I cannot do it, but it stinks and I don't want to. No different than I have no desire to get to a point of not having coffee in the morning.
Right.
I'd rather not.
Okay. So, but there's a guy out there who's like, okay, Kevin, that's how I feel about donuts. And we have to say, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And to the donut enjoyer out there, which includes me and you, although it's pretty infrequently.
Okay. Now I'm going to pick on the appetite though. Like we always talk about, I believe that we are best off to realize we are very driven by our appetites. Yes. We always will be.
Okay.
So we've been saying, elevate your appetite. So I just had this discussion again in the community, where a guy said, man, his dad, because he was talking about health as well. And I said, what's your, I don't know how I phrased it, your Achilles heel, whatever. Yeah. Mountain Dew. He travels a lot, and it's Mountain Dew for the caffeine, the whole deal. I go, well, can you just, we started talking. I said, can you how about trying some seltzer water, but for a while, put some Mountain Dew. I don't know, a quarter cup, a half a cup, however much you need to do, and start weaning off a little bit. Can we elevate your appetite to where you get to whatever? So you're still having that vice or imbibing to some degree, but it's not as detrimental. So for the person doing a donut, I would say, can you do a healthier muffin for a while? Healthier. Look at the sugar grams, look at the processed, can you get to an X, then can you get to a something like that? And so in that, I'm also looking and going, okay, it's not like I'm having a bottle of wine a night. So if I have 5 grams, what is it? What's the ounces? What do they say? Ounces. Yeah. Ounces. Thank you. Is there a detriment to that? And I look long term. No, I don't think that there is, other than does it control me or do I control it aspect, which we've talked about a lot. Well, but you're saying keto though, you're on that note of,
and you could go to the donut and say, well, what, you said 5 ounces. And what if the donut guy or the Mountain Dew guy says, okay, I'll have a half a Mountain Dew. Is there a detriment in that? And at some point there might be a low enough amount. And now we're at the point of, what are your goals?
What are your goals? Yeah. Well, cause I want to look at my biomarkers. I want my sleep score here. I want my body fat here. I want my telomere, whatever it is.
And that's where my contention on the fasting side is, okay, well, being empty is a good thing for those kind of goals, and empty is empty, and keto is keto, and blah, blah, blah. Like we've talked about all those things. And does everybody have to go out there and be keto all the time? Does everybody have to go out there and fast, 24 hours a day? No. But is it likely a part of human biochemistry that will help you to reach the common goals that people talk about being able to be a grandma and a granddad and go skiing when you're 80? Yeah, way more so than a donut and a glass of wine every night. So then it's back to then the question is, okay, how can I look forward to seltzer versus wine? You and I bought the fuzzy water. I forgot the thing.
Soda Stream.
Yeah. So Soda Stream. And honestly, that was kind of fun to play with for a while, and now it's not.
Really? You're not doing it?
I'm doing it. It's just no fun. It's not fun anymore.
Okay.
It's sometimes our element things. Have you played with those?
Oh, I did the first one the other day, the little electrolyte things.
Yeah. That makes it more fun. Okay. Here's a joke for your kids. Get the one that's habanero.
Oh.
And make it really bubbly water, and go to one of your little kids and say, I'll give you $10 if you can sniff this in and not cough.
Oh,
because you will cough.
Okay.
It's funny, but that makes it a little bit more enjoyable. And now we're back to elevate your appetites. And on one hand, I want to be, why can I elevate non-appetite? And this is part of our mindfulness meditation kind of work. Can I elevate being?
I don't know. Cause I enjoy my appetites. I mean, we're talking elevating them, but I talked to somebody recently, and my experience, well, you chime in though. My experience is people who are pursuing health, wellness, whatever, if they just, go too far, no appetites, no vices, no whatever, I don't see long-term benefits. Most of the people that I see that are doing well have some elevated appetite, but they have some vices. They go, yeah, I still do coffee or wine or some little soda here or there, or a little chocolate or whatever. I'm not aware of many people that I see, especially that have much joy and passion, that don't have something that is an imbibing, but they have chosen or gotten it to a point or a level or an amount to where the negative consequences are not much, or they're
completely agree. Of course. And
like you, I think you're a happier guy when you look forward to your coffee and your tea and your
that's
wine.
I don't agree in the fact that you call them a vice. I would just, it's like calling it, like people say, well, I cheat on Sundays. I'm like, no, you don't. You choose to imbibe on, because if it's a vibe that it just, you moralized it, you negativized it. I'm not going to put wine in a negative mindset.
I hear you. I think I was trying to have compassion and grace, and like even the aspect of, I almost like saying that, no, I am not just a prude with a completely vanilla life. I enjoy my vices. I was taking pride in that.
I understand what you mean.
Or maybe trying to make it more palatable.
Well, that's rather than calling it a vice, I'd call it a passion.
Okay.
Call it a
joy.
Yeah, a joy, a hobby, a connoisseur, right? Be a wine, a chocolate snob, kind of an idea that, well, I just negativized it.
Last night we played Seven Wonders. Do you guys have that? Yeah, we played Seven Wonders. We had 7 of us. And I had some chocolate from Askinosie that Sean Askinosie had sent me that I still had. And then my dad for my birthday sent me a bunch. So I had an array. We had like probably
raspberry,
had like, actually, no, these were all mostly darker stuff. It was like, I think we did have one that was like 62%, then the 72 on up to 89 or something like that. But we did a tasting of that, and everybody really enjoyed it, and people chimed in on different flavors. And I was just sitting there thinking, I'm so grateful that they are enjoying this
imbibing
high quality, very low sugar chocolate, as opposed to tasting, go, that stinks. Can I have a Milky Way? I was grateful for that elevated.
That's kind of what's happened in my family.
Okay.
Is that if we had the Ashkenazi, I still have, thank you, Dan Miller.
Ashkenazi. That's it.
Ashkenazi. I still have some left over from that. It lasted a long time this time because I did that 90 days. So I had to hide it from myself. And, but if we did that taste test, my family, my kids would absolutely choose the Milky Way.
Well, yeah. It's a journey.
It's a journey. In fact,
they're not in their 50s.
In my house, I'm kind of glad because they don't want to touch my 88% chocolate.
That's true. That's true. Well, so again, looking at this, can we find, I do like the aspect of looking at whatever level you are, looking at, if we look at diet, we look at exercise, if we look at stress management, look at those things, is how can you get to a point, maybe that's instead of the goal of, I need to lose this much weight, or I need to do XYZ, the goal of what can I find that will give me joy, that I will look forward to my whatever dietary change. That I'll look forward to an exercise. I had a guy again in the community. He's playing with this. He says, maybe I'll get back into, I used to love tennis.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, go play tennis. As opposed to, our friend reference again. I remember when he started running, he's, a couple months into it. I hate running, like and he doesn't run today.
No,
Find something that you can look forward to. That's,
I think you'll have to comment, but one of the things for me that was a big shift was bedtime.
Looking forward to going to bed. Yeah.
In my 40s, rather than I got to quit doing XYZ and I'm not getting done. It's just stop that mindset and create a bedtime routine that is palatable, that's enjoyable, that is regular and routine. And
you're the greatest help for me in that. Got me reading fiction again. Yeah. I've got one right now that I'm enjoying it so much. I stayed up too late. I didn't go to sleep when I needed to because I kept reading it. It's the Joe Pike series. It's kind of like a Born Identity thing. I'm digging it. It's a series.
I'm still enmeshed in the whole Dune thing. It's a little bit laborious, so I'm not looking so forward to that. Joe Pike. I'll remember that because I like those.
I'll show it to you. But yeah, that was one that helped me look forward to going to bed.
I look forward to a shower, look forward to just the routine. And I remember in early years, the whole, I don't want to go to bed. And, the parents are watching more interesting TV and just the mindset of bedtime is bad. There was a phase of that. And then the mindset of I have to accomplish for decades. The addiction of accomplishment or getting one more thing done.
Yeah. Producing.
And the shift, that was not an overnight thing. The transition of saying, sleep is such a detriment to me right now. It's hurting me, to becoming the kind of person whose telomeres are going to get better.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Another one that is away from the diet and exercise kind of thing is that you taught me about is, how do you becoming the kind of guy that other people would say is more kind? Right? Like we tend to think in the terms of, appetites or whatever else, but the opposite of kindness is meanness. Do you have an appetite for meanness or whatever else? And in the clinic, I'm telling people we don't set up our structures on pathology, meanness, or diabetes. We set up the structure on, well, okay, why don't you want diabetes? Are you going to be a kinder grandma or mom or parent or wife or spouse or husband?
In the same way you brought me to that perspective with, I'll never forget you saying it. So am I showcasing to my kids that being an entrepreneur is this harried, frantic,
spaced out,
anxious,
unexercising, but I love you kind of a dad?
Yeah.
Whose love is, well, I work hard to put food on the table kind of a love.
And it's caused me to continually work on the paradigm shift of gratitude and the privilege that I get to do this, that I get to make my decisions, that I get to create these things, that I get the joys of the ups and downs. And
I told that to, we both have 16-year-olds. And I said, I need you to understand that I don't see you as a burden, even though there's an awful lot of, well, I would not do this and I would do it this way and all of that I get to be your dad.
Yeah.
And, thank you for that. And go to bed on time.
Yeah. Well, again, you said something a second ago that brought me back to our propensity to look at like bedtime as a chore, as a detriment. That is not a life-giving perspective.
Right.
We've got to change that. So again, if you're bedtime, if you're looking at your diet, getting up in the morning, dreading it, I got to get up today and I got to try to not eat until noon. If that's your, thing, I got to try to then have a bunch of vegetables, or man, you're not headed for success. How can you, and we don't have the answers because everybody's different. What motivates you is different than me. It's different than whoever, but with exercise, whatever, that it is such, again, coming back to the beginning, every day we are becoming, you keep using the word training ourselves to be at some certain point, a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, that is happening. And if we want betterness, true life, whatever that is to us, figure out what that is, and then figure out how to make the day-to-day grind of that more to the delight than the chore.
Yes.